A hybrid predator now living in nearly every major city on this continent that did not exist 200 years ago. Not relocated, not rediscovered, built on the fly out of 3 different species, stitched together by nothing more than opportunity and the collapse of the borders that used to keep them apart. It has been walking through public parks after dark for decades, and most of the people who saw it assumed it was just a large, oddly confident dog. Wildlife agencies along the East Coast call it the eastern coyote. Most people call it a coywolf, and that word is where the trouble starts. Genetic studies do show real wolf DNA in the mix, sometimes 20 to 30%, alongside a smaller dose of domestic dog. But geneticists have pushed back hard on coywolf as a clean new animal. What actually happened took over a century. As wolves got shot and trapped out of the eastern half of the continent, western coyotes moved in behind them, picked up wolf and dog genes here and there along the way, and kept breeding as coyotes the entire time. Not one dramatic crossing, a slow absorption, 1 generation at a time, until the result was bigger than any coyote should be. Up to 55 pounds against a western coyote's 30, with a jaw strong enough to run deer down in packs the way a coyote alone never could. It has been photographed walking through Central Park at night. Whatever it's called, wildlife agencies are still arguing over what to call it on paper. Some hybrids don't wait for a name. In 1956, a Brazilian researcher imported East African honeybee queens, hoping to breed a strain that could survive the tropics better than the European bees already there. The following year, 26 of those queens escaped quarantine. What crossed with the local population wasn't more venomous per sting. It was a colony that recruits 3 to 4 times as many defenders to the same disturbance, chases intruders 3 times farther, and holds the alarm for hours after a European colony would have already calmed down. That trait bred true, spread through wild swarms, and has been pushing north through Texas, Arizona, and the Gulf states ever since, one hijacked hive at a time. On the North American side of the strait between Greenland and Nunavut, a hunter shot 3 strange-looking whales back in 1986 and kept the skulls, unsure what species he'd actually taken. They sat on the roof of his tool shed for over 2 decades before a researcher finally got a proper look, and in 2019 the DNA results came back as something that shouldn't have been swimming there at all. Half narwhal, half beluga. A Narluga. 2 whale species that split apart on the evolutionary tree roughly 5 million years ago, somehow still close enough to produce a living, breathing animal with teeth unlike either parent, twisted, forward-jutting, useless for the narwhal's signature spiral tusk, and useless for the beluga's normal bite. Nobody had a reason to look closer at 3 ordinary-looking skulls on a shed roof, until somebody finally did. Further south, in the old-growth forests of the Pacific Northwest, something is happening that wildlife agencies are far less comfortable calling progress. Barred owls, native to the east, pushed west over the last century and ran straight into the endangered northern spotted owl's last remaining territory. The 2 are close enough to interbreed, producing what field biologists just call the Sparred Owl, and the barred side is winning. It's bigger, it lays more eggs per season, and cares less which forest it settles into. It is out-competing and now outbreeding the species it's replacing. Spotted owl numbers have dropped by more than 70% in some study areas since barred owls moved in. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service now runs an active program shooting barred owls on site inside spotted owl reserves. Tens of thousands of birds removed since the program began. Not to punish an animal for existing, to keep one species from quietly erasing another through its own bedroom door. Every animal on this list exists because some border came down, a species line, a coastline, a wall of ice that used to keep 2 things apart. That process is not finished. If you want to see what else is getting built out there before it has a name, subscribe. This is exactly what this channel tracks. And if there's a specific hybrid or unexplained animal you want a full case built on next, put it in the comments. That same argument, is this actually a distinct species or a hybrid wearing a distinct species name, is currently deciding the fate of an animal on the U.S. endangered species list. Fewer than 20 red wolves remain in the wild today, all descended from a handful of captive survivors caught in the 1970s when the species was declared extinct in nature. A 2016 genomic study proposed that red wolves aren't a separate species at all, but a coyote-wolf hybrid lineage that formed centuries ago, a finding that, if it fully holds, could strip the legal protections keeping that last wild population alive in North Carolina. The same biological process building new animals in New York parks right now is the one currently threatening to erase legal recognition for one that has existed, by that same logic, for hundreds of years already. Then there's the one too large to call subtle. In 2018, a whale-watching crew off the coast of California photographed an animal with a body shape that didn't match anything in their field guide. Asymmetrical coloring, a dorsal fin in the wrong place for either species it seemed to be. It took a skin sample and months of lab work to confirm what they'd actually found. A hybrid between a blue whale and a fin whale, two species separated by roughly 8 million years of evolution, and, more practically, by a difference in size that should make mating close to impossible. Blue whale mothers have been documented nursing calves with a fin whale father, in the same waters both species now share more often, as warming oceans shift their migration routes closer together. The largest hybrid animal ever confirmed on the planet, swimming past that coastline for at least 4 known decades, and it took genetic sequencing, not a longer look through binoculars, to prove it wasn't just an unusually large fin whale. At the top of the Arctic, something is taking longer to build than any hybrid on this list, and it may end up the most consequential. As sea ice keeps retreating earlier each spring, grizzly bears are pushing further north into polar bear territory that used to be too cold and too remote to bother with. The result, confirmed by DNA testing since a hunter shot the first known wild specimen in 2006, is the Pizzly, or growler bear, a genuine wild hybrid, not a zoo accident, carrying a grizzly's stockier build, longer claws, and humped shoulders alongside a polar bear's white-tinged coat in the same animal. A 2017 study traced 4 hybrid offspring back to a single female Pizzly in the Canadian Arctic, who had gone on to breed with a full grizzly after her own mixed birth. A hybrid, breeding again, producing more hybrids. 2 apex predators on opposite ends of the same food chain for roughly 500,000 years, now close enough in range that the line between them is dissolving 1 generation at a time. The ice that used to keep them apart simply isn't there anymore, and neither species had any say in that.